Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Darn, you know what? I screwed my camera up. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, well, we're just gonna have to go to this screen here. Oh, you know what? I am like so out of whack here. Hold on. My goodness. Worst start to the stream ever. Good grief. So I think that I left my camera on last night. I was messing with it and I think I exhausted the battery, so we just have to let it charge a little bit to the point where it will let us turn it on. That's okay though. Hey, to the charts, shall we? So yesterday, kind of interesting. You know, well, okay. It actually, you know, it ended up being an update yesterday, right? I wouldn't say that it was too huge. Okay, but some pretty strong extension in the overnight session. So I want to go into a little bit more detail about what I think is going on here in the Treasuries, because we're in a really weird spot. And you know, we want to be on our toes here on this one. So there is an extremely large short position on in the Treasuries. Same with the equities as well, but especially in the Treasuries. I kind of feel like both of those things kind of contradict each other. There's this huge short position in the Treasuries. So like what you're seeing is the Treasuries kind of like slowly falling down, and then like this huge, you know, you'll get these huge washouts to the upside. So that's kind of what we're seeing at the moment, I think. So we got to be careful. I think that there could continue to be some selling flows, but when you see the buying flows come in, they're probably going to be very quick and fast, right? Now the S&P 500 is struggling a little bit. Overnight, it's down pretty good. There is a lot of earnings today. So today is a big day for earnings, and we see what the S&P does. I wouldn't be surprised to see the S&P 500 fall on poor earnings and then like a massive short covering rally afterwards. So this will be a tough play, but there could be some real opportunity in here in the S&P 500. Oil up a little bit overnight, retracing a little bit. Gold, they're still kind of towards the bottom end of their range. Gold and silver, I'm still concerned. Well, okay, so silver doesn't look very good. Like gold and silver came back so quickly, right? But I'm kind of concerned that they could fall back again into disfavor just as quickly. So copper is down. Wow, copper is really down. So, and they've been kind of on the downtrend for a while. So it seems like there are some real concerns about global growth out there. Bitcoin down, and the synthetic dollar index, we're still above 101, briefly in the overnight below 101. So that's kind of the lay of the landscape. And then what do we get here? We don't have any 6:30 news today. We do have house price indexes and US CB consumer confidence, Richmond Fed composite index. Yeah, so not too heavy on the news today, at least not early on in the session. Good morning, Uzi. Man, you know, first thing I'm noticing is that liquidity starting out here in the Treasuries looks very healthy. That is a little suspicious, to be honest with you. Sorry about yesterday. Oh, right, because he didn't. Yeah, so we were all excited and waiting for Uzi to be able to run this indicator for us in the data, and it turns out that he wasn't getting the data from his data provider. He had it cached, and by switching his machine, he deleted the cached data. So, it's very heartbreaking. I wouldn't blame yourself. You don't have anything to apologize for, but man, it is disappointing. I don't know what to do. I think that what we do is I just move forward with that video, and just show the year's worth of data and say, hey, look, we could get more, but it'd be like $2,000. So maybe if this video does well enough, I'll go back and I'll redo it. But I am the volume that I'm seeing here, or rather the liquidity that I'm seeing here in the ZN has me really, like, I was kind of coming in here thinking the treasuries might make a move, and I wasn't sure if it would be to the downside or the upside, but seeing the overnight that it was kind of already to the upside, and then coming in and seeing this liquidity, that has me thinking maybe somebody is going to puke hard here. We'll see if they're able to move. I mean, look, they're at the top end of this range that they've developed since the open. It's still relatively slow going. They're not hitting 15.5 super aggressively or anything like that. So we'll see if they're able to pull the volume out and continue up or not. It's crazy that it's $2,000. Yeah. Well, so the thing is that like 1 month's worth of data is like a reasonable amount. It's like something like $30 or $40 or something like that. It's just that when you add up that much of a history, it comes down to 2,000. Yeah, the camera's down. Let's try turning it on now. Let's see if we can fix it. Oh, it's going to turn on for a second and it's going to turn itself back off. Yeah. So I got this new accessory in yesterday that allows me to quickly turn my camera into the vertical orientation. And I did that thinking that maybe I would be able to use that to make TikToks. I don't know. Once I did it and I put it in the vertical orientation, I'm not too sure how I feel about what that looks like, and I'm just like, I would maybe rather just continue to use my phone. But it would be nice to use the camera because I could record it in OBS and then do a little bit of editing and stuff on it, right? But I think that I left it on, and it like completely sucked the battery dry. And the thing is that what I have it plugged in, but like, I don't see the light on. Hold on a second. Let me look at this. Oh, I got it. Okay. What happened was, it was not plugged in very well, so the power was off. What camera would you suggest for making YouTube videos? So your phone. When you're just starting out, here's the thing, these cameras are like thousands of dollars, right? And when you're just starting out, your phone can record really well, actually. So when you're just starting out, I would just use your phone. Okay. But if you were looking to invest a few $1,000s into a camera, I would recommend getting one of the newer Sony cameras. So that would mean either the Sony A7 IV, the Sony FX30, Or I forget what the new one is called. There's a newer one. It's like the ZE. Is that what it is? Is ZVE1? A GoPro would actually be pretty good. Yeah, it's the ZVE10. So one of the reasons why people go for the Sonys, the two reasons that people go for the Sonys is, one, Sony has the best autofocus, and autofocus is a really big problem for trying to record yourself. And the second is that they have the best low light cameras. So like my Sony a7 IV, I can literally go out at night and record stuff and it looks great. It's a full frame camera. It's a really sensitive sensor. You can really pump it up, right? And so that makes the Sony cameras really good for like YouTube, because you're inside, right? All that full frame and everything, that gives you a really good bright, clean image. Now, the Sony a7 IV is pretty good at doing this. I would say for my use, it's not perfect because it tends to overheat. So if I have this on doing it as a webcam for too long, it will overheat and turn off. That depends on whether I'm running it in 4K mode or not. But when I'm running it in 4K, it overheats. When I'm recording regularly, it overheats, and I just put a fan on it. But so that's one thing about the a7 IV that's not ideal. There's the FX30. So the FX30 is a crop sensor. So it has a lot of the other cool new features that the a7 IV has, but it's geared more towards video, but it's not full frame. Right. The Sony ZV-E10 is a full frame, so it's like the Sony a7 IV, but it doesn't have a removable lens. So the Sony ZV-E10 is basically equivalent to what I have right now with the kit lens for like half the price. All right. So if you were a YouTuber, that like the ZV-E10 would probably be like the entry level professional camera for YouTube. I think that there's probably another one out there. Like, there's got to be something like a Sony FX1. There's the FX3, I think it is. That one is probably what I should have gotten, but it's not as new. So either an FX3 2, or maybe they make an FX1. Something that's like, it has a fan on it and you have a removable lens and a full frame camera, but like doesn't have very many other whistles. Like, one of the things about the a7 IV is that it's supposed to be a what do you call it? Like you can it's good at taking photos as well, right? And so that makes it a little bit more expensive, and it has stuff that I don't necessarily need. So that's yeah, I went way too much into cameras, but it's something that I've looked at a lot, and I enjoy. So I'm gonna wait here to turn it on. I have a little bit of food here, so I'm gonna snarf down this food, and then I think we have some stuff to talk about. Oh, I guess I should also say, like, a GoPro will look okay. I mean, GoPro has like a really wide angle lens, which isn't the best for YouTube, but the actual quality of the image that you get out of a GoPro is great. Okay, so I'm balling up like my no, I'm balling up Zero Hedge, and the top story there is Biden officially announces 2024 campaign. So the rumors that I had shared with you guys yesterday that Biden would announce today are true. This is pretty significant volume trading in the treasuries early on today, at a time of day where you don't typically see a ton of volume in the treasuries. Look at the big absorption that they have pushed through from 16.5 to 17.5. So I'm still looking here being like, yeah, this looks to me that I shouldn't say it looks to me, because I don't know what would I be seeing if it was somebody puking out. Well, if it was somebody like puking out, then it would just be like volume just cascading through, right? I don't think that that's what it is. I think that this is more like a premeditated dump my position sort of a thing, right? So they're still trading the square root law and everything, but like, look, it is pretty strong. So I believe that this is short covering. Now the question is, will this continue to the point where you do start to see stop runs? I haven't seen anything like that. I'm seeing reloading at 17.5. So that could be interesting. It looks like 4,000 and they ticked back down. Sometimes when you see, so this is not the situation where I would take the reload. The reload, like in a trend, you take that every time. But otherwise it's like 50-50. And when I say 50-50, like sometimes it really comes back from those. So like, look, it already does kind of seem like that the volume is abating. And that they're saying that at least for that swing, that the best I'm going to get is a basis point. What the heck? So I'm just seeing coming across my Twitter feed right now, Bank of England's bill. People in the UK need to accept that they're poorer. That is like, what the heck? I'm sure that there's maybe some context around those comments and stuff that maybe suggest that I didn't mean it to come out that way. But either way, that is an incredibly reckless statement to come from a central banker. That is an incredibly reckless statement to come from somebody in a central bank. When I say reckless, maybe I should say insensitive. But either way, that's just like, I can't believe that I'm reading that headline. Okay, so they tried to take a bid at 17 a little bit, and it didn't look like the demand was there anymore. It looks to me like we're in post-meta order recovery. Ooh, do I think what's unfair? That people, well, okay, so when you say that, there seems to me, I get the feeling that there's some sort of implicit like somebody took advantage of you sort of a deal going on, right? When you put it that way, it makes it seem like some person took money at all of your expense, and it was an intentional thing done, you know, unfairly to you, sort of a thing, right? When the reality is really just kind of like a lot of what's going on is just like nature at this point, right? Like the politicians made their decisions about what to do during the COVID panic, and now we're all just seeing the consequences. And I don't think that the politicians intended for this to happen. Maybe some of them knew what was going to happen and just didn't care. But overall, I think that they were, you know, the left in particular was very naive about what would happen after all of this, right? It seems to me that there is a growing group of people on the left, and frankly, people with power, which is the thing that I find kind of scary, that are just completely ignorant of economics. And they thought that we really could just print money forever and it would be fine, and like nobody'd have to work and stuff like that, right? Clearly it didn't turn out that way. So I don't think that unfair is the correct word. I think that it was that the people in power were very short-sighted about it, right? To some extent, Bank of England's pill is correct, that the inflation happened, and now we're just kind of like stuck dealing with it, and we kind of have to deal with it, whatever that means for you, right? Because I think he is correct that the UK is poorer than it was, and it really sucks, but England is going to have to learn how to deal with it and come away with, you know, being able to try and find some success in a very difficult situation, you know? But you just can't say like, oh, you got poorer. Yeah. Inflation took money? No, it was 100% inflation. I mean, look, a lot of different things kind of all conspired at the same time to lead to the inflation. I don't think that you could say that the inflation was entirely due to just one thing. That's one of the things that I see a lot of people say. Like when I come in and I say, like, look, the government printed a lot of money, and there was a lot of fiscal stimulus, and that contributed to inflation. And then everybody will say, well, yeah, but the Federal Reserve printed all of this money. And it's like, okay, is it so complicated to understand that both of these things are inflationary and they both contribute? But this one happened first and this one happened after. And it was a really foolish thing for the politicians to do, to increase the amount of fiscal stimulus when we already had so much monetary stimulus and all of the experts were telling them not to do it. People don't want to look at that part because they don't want to accept that their politicians, they were misled by their politicians. That's what I think. Wow, they came back up there to the highs so quickly. Like, look, 2780 to trade to the high. And it was just like they were struggling, and then all of a sudden they found 5,000 contracts and shoved it back up to the high. It's not going yet. Let's see if I can turn my camera on now, huh? I don't know if it will be able to stay on or not. I don't know with it plugged in this way how much power draw there is. But we're going to try going with it. Maybe tomorrow or Friday I can mess around with taking it vertical. I actually like switched it over so that you could and like made a new scene that would be with the camera and the vertical orientation and just like cropping it really hard. But I don't know if it was the greatest. Whoa, I am dropping a ton of frames here now that I've turned the camera on. May have just been a temporary thing though. Oh, and look, it came back down just as easily again. They are playing with it, man. Well, there's a bit of liquidity there now, left behind at 18. News in 3 minutes. You know, I'm not hearing anything through my news squawk, but we do have the house price index year over year coming up. Right. I don't know if that's one that's really going to move us or not. That's usually like a C tier release, right? I think it might be a problem with the camera still being kind of low, so I'm just going to turn that off. I think I can go to here. Yeah, I can do it like that. Let me just move this over here. Okay, well, so they're still trading around. I am getting a hint of steepening on this move. Or sorry, flattening. It flattened on this move. You can see the 5 years kind of pulling down. There was actually a significant downtick right there in the 5 year. But it's actually kind of curious because on a move like this, I would expect it to steepen. And see, it looks like the 10 and the 30 are kind of fighting the 5 here. Okay, well, so I am getting sometimes, I'm not getting like the low latent liquidity, but I am getting some activity here at 17 that kind of says to me that I might be sitting here for a while. 15 seconds. Yeah, the offers have been taking it, no problem. There's definitely more liquidity on the offer side than on the bid side, right? This is looking like, starting to look like a war to me. Like, I think there's somebody out there that did not like the treasuries coming up to the highs there like that. Okay, so I don't, maybe my news squawk is broken. I did not hear them read out the numbers for some reason. But US house price index month over month was higher than expected at spot 5 versus a negative spot 1. Well, that, I'm not liking the way they're reacting to that. Wow. Wowie. I don't know what to make of that. So it looked like there was a little bit of selling on that house price index, and then the buyers pushed right back.
Did you see the release of US house price index?
Oh, there we go. Oh, there they are. Hold on, I gotta fix that. Okay. Did you hear it come out over my speakers? They're asking me to refresh. So we'll do that. We'll do that. There we go. And look, the 5-year pushing through some liquidity. I don't know, man. Part of me thinks that it's just gonna get stuck here. But the way this is behaving, there is a possibility of like a crazy strong like stop run. Like the way I see it is, you think, or like, well, not the way I see it, but like maybe one of the scenarios here would be earnings are really bad. The S&P 500 is selling off. Somebody is buying treasuries in anticipation of that. And as a result, you're seeing these guys that are short the treasuries getting squeezed like crazy. Because here's the thing. Having a record short in both equities and treasuries in this current situation doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think one of those two is going to fail. Another thing I should point out is that the 6J does appear to be a factor here. And Bank of Japan does meet this week, and they're saying yield curve control to be abandoned, but not until July. Well, what? No, okay. I just read a story. We'll talk about that one later, though. You know what? I should keep copper on my screen here. Yeah, there we go. Because of all of the things that I've seen this week, and especially in the overnight, the downside action in copper is the one that sticks out to me the most. Copper is down 2.29% today. That's a lot. I mean, that it really suggests concerns about global growth, right? Copper is a really great proxy of global growth. If we're having that much trouble on global growth from like a global perspective, like even China's having problems, that's bullish treasuries. Like I think the scenario S&P 500 goes down, treasuries go up makes more sense. Okay. So the 5-year just is hitting into its highs. There's some liquidity at 110 even. Right? Like that, after that, that's when things get interesting if they go. All that said, the S&P 500 is real quiet this morning. Like all of the action and the attention seems to be in the treasuries right now. They're coming back up to those highs again though. The 5-year is lagging a little bit, but the 10-year is reaching, the 30-year is reaching for it. Starting to see some volume trickle into 18 in the 10-year. So one of the things going on in the news that we should keep an eye on, even though it's not particularly relevant to our trading at the moment, is that Joe Biden did announce his campaign for president today. Donald Trump making a statement, you could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and put them together, and they would not have done the damage Joe Biden has done to our nation in just a few short years, not even close. Man, I think that Joe Biden is a bad president, but that is like classic Trump hyperbole, right? And it looks like, so I think that what you're going to see here, Donald Trump is going to try and like suck all of the air out of the room, essentially. Like if he comes in with a bunch of bombastic statements and makes the full court press coverage sort of a thing, that it's Donald Trump versus Joe Biden again, to the point where like everybody forgets about the other candidates, right? That's what he's going to try and do. And you can already see it playing out. So that's an interesting thing to note. Wow. Okay, so they did break there. There was a strong tick. 2352 taken out. Strong bid, 1800 bid. All 3 of them ticked at the same time, and all 3 of them traded relatively large volume at the same time as well. So again, I just want to like my larger picture here is there is a record short position in the treasuries. Earnings are expected to be bad. The flows have been really quiet, but everything is kind of set for volatility to possibly expand here. And treasuries down, equities down, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The flow that we've seen in the yesterday overnight session and this morning has all been long. And there's more liquidity on the DOM in the 10-year Treasury than there has been in the past week, which suggests very strongly that there are big boys out there looking to execute today. And so far it has been long, which is why I'm short rates. And the scenario that I'm hoping for is that if you get enough of an upside thing, you could get like a serious breakout and some stop outs and stuff. So they stacked a bunch there at 17.5, right? Like I think that that's kind of like a warning sign to would-be sellers. Like, look, we've got a ton here to buy. Miss all the what about Trump? So I'll go over that again. Joe Biden announced his campaign for president today, and the Donald Trump strategy is going to be to turn this into it being focused on Joe Biden versus Donald Trump again. So he's going to try and suck all of the air out of the room and all of the media coverage so that everybody forgets that there's even a Republican primary and that there's any challengers to him, right? And you can already see that he said that if you combined all the past the 5 worst presidents and combined them together, they wouldn't be as bad as Joe Biden, is what he said. So you can definitely see him doing it, right? So I think that there was maybe some question in some people's minds that like how serious was Trump actually, right? I think that's a sign that he is serious. Do we need to refresh Financial Juice again? I had already done it, but I'll do it again. Okay, so interesting. You met him in Ireland? Oh, that's interesting. Now, the split side of this, like I've been saying, the volume is long. Something is fighting this, right? It looks like very, very strong volume coming in long, but there does appear to be somebody fighting it. Like, look, there's like massive... There's massive amounts of transactions coming through here. Like, this is a battle, man. One that I'm not sure that I want to be a part of anymore. Okay, well, I don't think that... So you're not supposed to do that in futures. You could do wash trade. Could be wash trading. Look at that. 17.5 bid looks good. I don't know, man. This is a battle. Like here's the thing though. When in a battle like this, here's a situation where we know like these shorts are fighting for their lives, right? If they don't stop it here, they're fucked. Darn. I was still kind of looking to work something out here. I don't know if I'm gonna get it, to be honest with you. So this is a perfect example of where when you're trading with the micros, you have to be really cognizant of the spread and the volume and everything, and how you want to try and work out your exit. Big iceberg at 17. Part of the problem here is that it appears to be a spread as well. So you're like gonna see way more volume than you expect. Hmm. 17 it is, huh? Nope. How do you know it's shorts? What's your clock lag? How do you see that? Mine is exactly on. Oh, it says 0.073. I didn't know about that. So normally I would be looking at things and saying, well, this is just, you know, kind of like post meta order regime, and there's a really good chance that we get another leg that pushes up higher and everything. But the thing is that like massive volume has been trading all through all of this. So this really does look more to me like a fight. So we had the camera on and it was causing a little bit of problems. I kind of wore the battery out, so I'm letting it charge a little bit. So we'll bring it on in a bit. Okay, they took 17 bit again. $17.64 to offer it, man. I'm also seeing the Japanese yen fighting within this range as well. By the way, you can right click and sync it, really. Well, 100th of a second is a pretty darn good. I'm trying to think back to times when I've seen situations like this before, and just from the volume alone, I don't think that I know of anything that kind of gives you an edge in determining how this plays out. And Yeah, I don't know. I'm quite surprised to see the shorts fighting this as hard as they are here. I would have thought that seeing such a strong bid come through would like really scare the shorts, and that the shorts would be like falling over each other to try and escape this as quickly as possible. Because again, if it goes to the upside and you start seeing stop runs to the upside, it's going to be one of the most violent moves you've seen, right? Like, because there is just such an insane short position on in the treasuries. How do you know? Like, go and look at the CFTC reports. No. If you look at like the open interest reports from the CFTC that they released on Friday, they given this as a week old data, given that it's a week old data, but they had a record short position, and most of last week was quiet, right? Most of last week was quiet, if not down. So there is a strong short position on in the treasuries. No, it totally has relevance to this. Totally has relevance to this. There was, so we know what the position was last week, and we know what the action has been in the week since then. And the action in the week since then was not like long. It was not like that position unwound, right? It was very quiet last week. So it's pretty likely that that position is still on. I'm just saying the open interest in the 10-year treasury is like a record high. It's not old data. It's still there. I guarantee you it's still there. Who's to say long cash short derivatives? I suppose that could be happening. But either way, doesn't that kind of suggest if it goes one way that you're going to see like a really big position unwinding? Okay. Well, when they came down there, those offers really like doubled up, right? Like they're trying to put this, they're really trying to put the squeeze on, and I guess I have to puke it, right? Well, now the spreads is kind of the interesting one because the yield curve hasn't really been moving that much, has it? It kind of some hints of it flattening this morning though. Well, on that trade, I certainly did have the opportunity to get out at plus 10, but I'm okay with kind of letting it play out. That's when you're getting a battle like that. You know, it's kind of hard to predict what it's going to do in the short term, right? I felt that the possibility, if it went through, was enough to be worth keeping. So now we just kind of have to sit here, wait and see what it does. It looks like they're gonna try and press the other side of this. There is definitely, the volume on the short side in the 30-year, man. That's kind of what screwed me over, was good 2,500 contracts come through selling in the 30-year, which I would actually associate with steepening, but the curve is not steepening as of yet. Without empirical evidence. Well, listen, we know what the positioning in the futures is. Okay, you could say, is there a position in other things, or I don't know that. I'm just telling you the position in the futures is short, record short, right? And we also know that there's a lot of earnings today. And we also know that the way that the volatility is structured and everything, a lot of analysts have been saying, there's a story we can go and read if you want, that volatility is set to kind of move up here. Like it's been short volatility ever since like that banking fiasco, right? So my theory was that you should see flows come in today. We saw the long side flow come as expected. I went with it. I got a good volume off of it. It was totally in line with like my best case expectations, but there was a fight against it. No, it's not. This chart, sorry, wrong screen. Look at those charts down at the bottom. Look at that 30 and 10 and that 30 and 5 sideways. I guess on 2 and 10 you're seeing a little bit of steepening. Curve doesn't seem to be moving much. Not yet. I'm definitely seeing volume that looks like spread trades to me. But if I'm seeing that kind of volume in the 30-year and I think it's a part of a spread, it's unusual for me not to see the knob move. Well, I tell you what, when they finally pulled it out of that range, they really stacked some orders there. No. Listen, do not play that game with me. Look, this is very easy to understand, folks. This is don't overcomplicate what I'm saying. All right, it's very simple. This is still flat. Can I say that again? The knob spread didn't move. There was a lot of volume short in the ZB and the knob spread didn't move, okay? Jesus. What do you mean we need empirical evidence that the open interest data means what you were saying? The open interest data says that the amount of shorts that are open is at a record high. That is the data. Right? I'm pointing out a piece of data to you. Right? The data is what it is. Okay, you say no relevance to what is. If you don't want to believe that it has any relevance to what's happening now, then that's your opinion. You can do that. No, Seth, listen. I am 100% right. I am right. You guys are wrong. Okay? And I'll tell you why. The CFTC report says what it says. You may not like it. You may not like what it may imply, but the data is what it is. The knob spread is what it is. You may not like it. It may not be in line with what you want to think. There might be some other piece of information that you care about more, but the knob spread is what it is right now. I am pointing it out to you. Okay? When you come in and you're trying to question what I'm saying and I'm just giving you data, I'm going to fight you on that all the way because the data is what it is. Right? And all I'm saying is the knob spread didn't move in the way that it normally does. I don't know. Well, okay, so then this coming back to the relevance of it for the CFTC data, right? The data is delayed, that which is to say that the data that we got on Friday is showing you what the position was on what oh my gosh, I don't know why turning this on is screwing things up. Hold on a second. I think I might know why. Let's try that. That seems to fix my issue. Okay. So if we're trying to figure out what the positioning is, right? Okay. So it was record short. Okay. Now let's go and look at the chart. Okay. So when we look over here, and what day was it? Sorry. The 14th. Okay. So I'm saying we got this. Okay. We got this. What has happened since then? Basically nothing happened last week. If anything, most of the behavior was down and then a little bit of a pullback. So do you think during this period that it was an increase or a decrease in that position? Well, it's possible to say that maybe the position decreased. But do you think that it decreased from what was a record high? No, it was not. Now, these past 2 days is maybe a little bit of a different question, right? But there's probably still a lot of it out there. And that's probably a major factor behind why this move in the overnight session was what it was, right? So that's where I would say that you can make a pretty good estimate that those shorts are still out there, right? So it's a trade here based on this. So the conclusion, not the conclusion, let's say the theory that I'm making off of that is that if you were to get a breakout to the upside, it would be really, really strong, right? But there is a fight here. Like, there was a lot of volume here, man. So I'm wondering, the market volume that we're seeing here is, I think, a little hard to analyze, because it was really strong move up, really strong move down. I'm seeing pushback the other way again. No. I said earlier that because the CFTC positioning data has record shorts on the treasuries, what you're going to tend to see in a market that's structured like that is, like, maybe it goes overall down, but you're going to see this, and then maybe it goes lower, but you'll get this, right? Like, those upswings become more violent because it's a crowded trade, essentially, right? So that's what I'm saying. Now, the other thing is that if it does reverse, then you can get this sort of a thing where it goes, you know, like, it can really run, right? Well, in those situations where you have like a real imbalance in positioning, you know, if it goes against those people, you can get really strong flows off of it, right? And I would say that the flows that we're seeing here this morning are strong, right? It's just that there appears to be an equally strong short flow still, right? So when I get two flows converge like that, and I'm not 100% sure what would be the short flow, other than the people with the existing position thinking that 3.43 is too low. But when I get two flows like that come together, it's really hard to predict what happens. We haven't seen a battle like that in a long time. Kind of looks like the shorts aren't done though, man. Sorry, the longs. Well, look, they hit into an iceberg at 16.5, but fine. Somebody's toying with me on the bid there. Well, to your credit, you guys aren't wrong per se. What's happening is you're trying to say something based on a completely different set of data and things than what I was talking about, right? Like, Akshay is saying something about much more complicated about the structure of our market. Whoa, what? Kind of looks like I should have held it, man. Fuck. Because now it's going. What I'm talking about is exponentially easier than I was trying to understand. Well, so if I understand what you're trying to say correctly, I think that you are saying that if I charted the outrights, that I would see that the spread changed. Yeah. Or sorry, if I charted the outright yields, I traded the outright micros, that I would see that there was a change. That's what I think you're saying. Yeah. So another thing that we clearly need to take into account in this situation is that there are really strong flows coming in here. Like, the guys that are trading this are trading tens of thousands of contracts. So even though 3,000 might seem really big, they could easily wash that through, right? Or they could easily eat through that. Now, when you're executing a large meta order, you don't necessarily want to do that. You don't want to come in and do something that like really spectacular, right? You want to give, like, for instance, if I have 70,000 treasuries that I need to buy today, right? Having somebody else come in and they want to short it, like, and they're really aggressively shorting it, is great. In fact, I might even back off and let them see how far they can push it. Because that's a better price for me in the end, right? Did we get back to 13.5? Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of interesting. I'm not really seeing the fight from the shorts anymore, but the bids are not just slamming through. So also, the Japanese yen is not back up to its highs with the treasuries. What's your theory with the bonds going up with the dollar? That's a good question. Because I haven't really thought about or factored the dollar into this at all. I was mostly just concerned with what I believe to be the current positioning. I do think, though, in this scenario, like the best case scenario, let's say, for the treasuries here, that you're getting a risk off flow, and that's would be money coming into the dollar. When you have risk off flows, generally the dollar moves up, right? But that may not be what's driving the dollar this morning. They are to the upside. I mean, when you look at the chart that we have right here next to my face, it's to the upside. That's not really quite the picture when you zoom out a little bit, right? So I don't think I completely understand what's going on in the dollar index right now. But I don't know. It is like the thing is again, like there appears to be record short positions in the treasuries. There appears to be record short positions in the equity indexes. some of the things that I'm seeing in the correlations and stuff, I can't, they don't really make sense to me that all of those things could be happening at the same time, right? So there's probably some conflict in the market about it, right? You're probably got two really big trade theses like colliding with each other here. Okay, well, they're able to trade 18 pretty freely. You still really haven't had the stop run to the long side that I'm looking for, though, have you? And I don't know if it's actually going to happen. Well, the 30 years is looking pretty bullish at the moment. It's too much volume. I know. Well, but I mean, you've seen those things kind of flip before, right? I can think of one time in particular where I remember seeing a really big battle, and then when that battle resolved, it moved so strong. Right? But it was one of those things that was like, there's a big battle, and then they came up and they did the whole, okay, are we going to break higher or not sort of a thing. But then after it broke higher, it was like trend day sort of thing, right? Oh, sorry, too much volatility. Well, I think it probably was to some extent, yeah. No, sorry, when I say stop run, I mean like I can see it taking 2 ticks at a time, and it's clearly stop orders that I'm seeing hit the tape and stuff like that and puking. I do think that a good portion, that my general theory is that the action that we saw yesterday and overnight has been short covering from those longer term positions, and that what we're seeing right now is a continuation of that flow. That's my theory, right? But I want to see, like, you know, the short-term traders stopping out, the people panicking and hitting 19.5, 20. So it's hard to know. I think there are some situations where you can pretty well guess that those orders were probably stops. For instance, if we cleared 19 and 19.5 went bid, and I instantly saw volume go off at 19.5 as well, right? So that from my view, it almost looks like the volume hit 19 and 19.5 at the same time, and it's on a new high. It's a pretty good bet that that's people stopping out, right? I don't have the data to prove that they were stops, but I think you can make a pretty good guess that they probably are. So let me show you here. I have to go like all the way to yesterday. Well, there you go. There's 18.5. Oh man, iceberg at 19. Okay, so here's the chart that I'm talking about. Leveraged fund net position in 10-year Treasury futures, right? significant short position relative to the past. Will Microsoft and Alphabet earnings please put us out of this range in the E-mini? Well, so far the E-mini took a bit of a tumble there, though. Was that one of those companies reporting their earnings? So this is where I'm saying this would be up to April or April 14th, right? The data released on the 21st that was up to the 14th. And just keep in mind that there wasn't that much volume in that week since. So this, you know, maybe it's come back, but it's certainly not positive yet, right? Watch the E-mini in a bigger time frame, 15 minutes or so, and watch the last 2 weeks. Oh, you're talking about... No, I think that there was earnings. You don't think that that number was earnings? You are right that like the E-mini is kind of like skidding on the bottom of like what technical analysis traders would call a support line, right? TLT offers daily short interest. Oh, really? Really? I don't know though how much activity actually comes through TLT though. Well, now you're starting to see like this level 2 activity that's a little bit more indicative of like a strong trend. Is it any relevant? I would say yes. Sure, for sure. So the key thing to keep in mind would be to say, I think that the like people's initial naive analysis of that data would be, okay, if they have a record short position, then I should go long, right? That's not a correct way of looking at it, right? Because if they have a record short position on, there's a really good reason that they're doing it, right? So it means that the probability of it continuing to go down is probably higher than the probability of it going up. But it also means that if it does go up, it's probably going to do so more violently, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm just looking at that divergence, and I'm kind of waiting and saying, okay, if I do start to see a strong buy flow come in, I should probably try and write it, right? Or at least there could be some strong outsized rewards in following it if it happens. Just realizing that it's the minority case. But if you see something happen and you know that flow is coming, then you should go for it, right? We don't know what the reason is, hence my question. What if it's just cash basis spread when the... Okay, so... what? So I don't 100% understand the complete mechanics of the structure that you're talking about. Because the cash basis spread where the interest rate has been up 5% throughout the quarter, it would imply no fast move either side. You're saying that they're just trying to arbitrage between the cash and the futures, right? So I think that there probably is a lot of that happening. I mean, if we just take it from let's try and step back from that for a second and just talk about like volatility. That's a short volatility trade that you're talking about, right? And over the last month, I would say, basically since the whole banking fiasco, since the whole Silicon Bank fiasco, it has been a short volatility market, right? So the thing is that it's been like that for a long time, and we're kind of getting a lot of indications that volatility is set to explode. So if that is the case, I think that now is a situation where you could see that trade start to unwind, even if it was a short volatility basis type trade. Although I suppose that a basis trade you would be likely to might want to just keep it on, right? Implied repo rate. Yeah, okay. But let me ask you a question. If you had an implied repo rate trade on like that, what would get you to exit that position? You just hold it until the expiration or whatever, come hell or high water, or are there certain things that could happen that could scare you out of that? Nothing. I would hold till delivery. Maybe that's what happens then. Let me just say I'm skeptical of the theory that that's the majority just a basis trade like that though. But I don't know. I guess the thing is that I feel that the action of the past night and everything is very much in line with my theory that there's like a really big short position that's unwinding, right? Yeah, if you could make 5% risk tree, that wouldn't be 5%, would it? Okay, but what evidence would you have that that's what's responsible for the right? Like, I get what you're saying. Like, okay, here's a theoretical trade, but what evidence do we have that that's the majority of that versus that it's just an outright short position? How would we determine which one it is without asking the owner of the position? Right? Yeah, I don't know if there actually is a way. I can only say that, like, I'm not seeing news media talk about that sort of setup, right? Okay, so we're coming up now on the CB numbers. I am seeing liquidity kind of. Okay, the Richmond Fed came out a little bit early. It was -10 versus an expected -8. Yeah. Consumer confidence much weaker than anticipated. 101.3 versus 104. New home sales a little bit higher than expected. 0.683 versus an expected 0.632. I'm not seeing too big of a reaction here. It looks like the volume is mostly to the long side. Yeah, well, you're right. I think that financial media can sometimes will talk about something like that simply because they know that that's the position that somebody has on or whatever, right? So I can only say that the potential trade that you're talking about seems to be something that the larger public has not sniffed out, right? Hmm. So I took a little bit of extra risk on this trade because I felt like I had it right and I was a little bit pissed about that. Um, and so far it looks like I've been able to manage it well. I was able to get a contract off before the news. Seems like it's okay. I could hold one in there. Oh, sorry. I'm mostly talking to Akshay here, D. But hear me out. A move in line with what the financial media is looking at or talking about is likely to end up having more volume and volatility behind it because more people are aware of it, right? I wouldn't say that it's very predictive of which way the flow ends up going. But when the flow does come in, I think that it has an impact on those flows, right? Because you end up with more speculators participating. More people like me. Or it could be when they talk about it, it's because it's already over. Well, to that point, under normal circumstances, by the time I got that CFTC data, I would probably be not very interested in it, right? It's just this one time where like nothing happened last week that I'm able to be like, oh, it still kind of matters, right? Because what I see is a market that appears to have some disagreeing flows in it, and they're all kind of like coming into a head today. I mean, it's not going to all play out today, but there's going to be some drama today. Especially there should especially be some drama today in the equity indexes because of all of these big earnings, right? It's, it's something I find really weird. And I don't know if it's like one of those like confirmation biases sort of things, or if like there's an actual reason why this happens, or if it's like a conspiracy or something like that. But I find that significant events and significant transition periods all seem to kind of converge at the same point for some reason. So like a simple example would be like, maybe I have a term paper due, like when I was in school, big assignment due on a certain day. And so like I can only think about that day. It's like I can't really plan past that because this particular test or whatever is such a big, grabs so much of my attention. I can't look past that. But then I'll go and I'll look, and it's like that day there will also be a big change in the markets, and there will also be these other big news stories that have nothing to do with finance that also go through. And it's like, why does everything converge at the same point, right? So today is a place where I see a lot of that happening, and I find it curious that like we are having all of this stuff with earnings is kind of converging today, and like at the same time like the Tucker Carlson stuff is all going crazy. So I've kind of been putting off talking about that because I wanted to have the camera up on it, but this Tucker Carlson story over the past 24 hours is a really big deal. It's a really big deal. Okay, I've been kind of looking at getting out. I think that I will just, oh gosh dang. Come on, I'll let you out. Okay. Yeah, that's why they say when it rains, it pours. Okay. So this is what I'm about to say might seem controversial to some people. I'm really going out on a limb here. Some people will get it and some people won't. But I think that what you're seeing with Tucker Carlson right now is possibly one of the most significant cultural news events of like the decade, if not like 20-30 year time period. Okay, so what's going on? Well, on Monday, Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News. Tucker Carlson is the most popular news program, and it is the most popular news program on Fox News. Okay. At the end of the day, so a lot of it was, okay, Fox had this lawsuit against Dominion, and they settled it, and they feel that a lot of the coverage that was in question came from Tucker Carlson, where he was questioning the results of the election. And so it was kind of everybody was guessing that it was maybe related to that's why they decided to let Tucker Carlson go. Well, at the end of the day, you saw a coordinated news release. So the New York Times was the most prominent outlet that I saw, but I saw multiple outlets putting out information, and they all had slightly different, pieces of information. Like complementary pieces of information. So it's like no one person had so that looks to me like a coordinated news release, possibly from the Murdochs giving their side of the story as to why he was fired. And it came out like Tucker Carlson is a jerk, and we didn't like some of his news coverage. And like this all kind of came out when in the Dominion lawsuit, it looked really bad. And we really didn't like what he was saying about us and other people behind people's backs, and so they got rid of him, right? Well, like here's the thing. Tucker Carlson is an interesting case because he grew up in the news media. Like I think his parents were, I don't know, he did not come from like humble beginnings. He's been in the media all his life, and he feels like he came to a point where he all of a sudden he realized that like, oh, the news media is like a method of control to some extent, and that really like shifted him, right? So he hates the news media, and it doesn't surprise me one bit that he's bad talking other news anchors, the Murdochs, etc., behind their backs, because he genuinely believes that they're vipers or whatever the deal is, right? If Fox News didn't have to settle with Dominion, they would not have sacked him. Well, even if they didn't have to settle with Dominion, or let's say that they settled and it came out really favorable to Fox News, it kind of sounds to me like what happened was the revelations that they learned about Tucker Carlson in the course of that investigation made them not want to have him anymore. Okay. That's what they said. But you know what? None of that surprises me. And I don't think that any of that changes any of Tucker Carlson's fans' opinion of him. So what's really going on here? They just created a martyr. They did. So one of the things that they complained about in particular was his coverage of the January 6th thing, and the video footage that he had showing that it was mostly people just walking around, and that one guy that really got the book thrown at him, the guy with the buffalo hat, that he was literally escorted around by the Capitol Police, this sort of a thing, right? Like, they didn't like that, right? And all of his fans are going to be like, well, this is exactly why I watch Tucker Carlson, you know? So they created a martyr. And I don't think that anybody in conservative media is going to trust Fox News anymore. So that's why I'm saying this is a huge shift. Now, part of it depends on what Tucker Carlson does next. If he does something like, if Tucker goes to the Daily Wire, because the Daily Wire has been trying to get a big person, you know, to kind of put them over the top. If they go to the Daily Wire, then that literally ends up being like the Daily Wire becomes the center of conservative leaning news now, and Fox goes the way of the dodo. So, yeah, I think this is a big story, because think about it. Like, Fox News has been the center of conservative media for a long time, right? So that shifting is a really big deal. Well, you know what? I got out of that trade real fast, and it looks like they're already like sweeping back up, man. So it looks like I made a bad choice there. I'm not going to try and chase it now. I realized halfway through me talking there that I made a boo-boo, but it's okay. I still made money, right? I had only gotten out of that one because I thought that we were going to go into a quiet period again. It may come back, so I may have the opportunity to get short at 342 again, but I don't think I will. Thinking about it further though, that would have been what, 30 bucks? Yeah, that would have made the trade 30. I feel that for the risk that I put on, that I did not get enough out of that trade. It was the hype that a G7 central bank chief economist openly said people need to accept that they are poor. Dude, when I read that come through this, I think that was before you popped in. When I read that on Twitter, I was like, for real? Can't believe I'm sure that within the context it makes sense, and that he didn't intend to say something so insensitive, but that is a really major slip for a central bank speaker, that everybody's paying attention to you, right? How could you say you need to accept that you're poor? I mean, he is correct that that people in the UK are more poor than they were. And they are going to, that is the reality on the ground now. And the only question is, what do we do about it now? But you don't say, accept that you're poorer. That's like, man. Jeez. I was really shocked, man. I was really shocked. I mean, Ayo, there's the truth, and then there's how you make people feel, right? So Seth is not the best person for that, right? Speculator Seth would make a poor central banker, because he would go out to these speeches and say the reality, and some people would be uncomfortable with that and not like it and get mad at him, right? Did you see his comments live though, Akshay? I feel like you're saying a lot about this that without even like the full context of it. Like, I'm not saying that it's okay that he said that, but I'm saying that trying to paint him as like, Marie Antoinette is a little unfair. All right. It was not his intention to make, he's only talking about what's going on. Facts don't care about your feelings. Well, okay. Yes, but people's feelings do matter. Like when you are a a public figure and you're going out and you're saying things, the way that the things that you say make people feel results in action and has real consequences in the real world. So the way that you say things does matter. It doesn't change what the reality is, but it is going to change how people react to it. And that ends up being an important thing, unfortunately. This was a big problem with Donald Trump. Was we came into this point where it was kind of like, I think it was most visible with COVID, right? Was that he shut everything down, and everybody was like really panicked, especially his base, especially like the older voters, really concerned about the coronavirus. And then he immediately did an about face and was like, okay, now only the economy matters. And he tried to play it off as like it's a bad thing and we got to get past this or I'm not going to get reelected, sort of a thing. And people were still concerned about it. And they didn't like the way that he was approaching the crisis made them feel. And he lost the election because of it. This is why you won't ever see Jamie Dimon as the head of the Federal Treasury. Nah, I think that you'll never see Jamie Dimon as the head of the Fed or the Treasury, because it would be so politically toxic that probably no politician would want to do it. I would do it. I'd put him in there in a heartbeat. I don't think anybody understands this better than him. I think he would do a good job. But it would be like political death, man. I haven't seen that video and stuff. Well, they came back there a little bit. That looks like yeah, it looks like the 30-year really moved there. The knob spread still hasn't. Well, okay, on this last tick, I see a change in the knob spread, and it's once again it's flatter. Political didn't stop Hank Paulson. People weren't paying attention back there. I mean, let's be honest. Post 2008, the politics of this is very different, right? Maybe I'm reading too much into like my own experience, but I think the public pays a lot more attention to what's going on at the central banks now post 2008. I don't remember regularly seeing politicians like directly attack specific central bankers and stuff like that, like I do now, for instance. And it seems to, yeah, and the Fed, but yeah, so yeah, that's 100% right. Yeah, that's a very good point. They didn't have the press conference before. They didn't speak publicly as much as they do now. They all, yeah. I'm kind of looking at this and I was hoping, hey, maybe it would continue to be volatile and I could get a good out point, but it looks like it's not gonna. I think that it may just chill up here at 21. It's frustrating even when you got a good trade. Like the way that it tends to behave is always kind of in a way that will scare you out. Like you got this really strong upside trend, right? But there was a couple of drops in between there that scared me out, right? Greenspan was famed that he would die before answering a yes or no question. Yeah. So I don't think that politically you could get a Jamie Dimon. I think it's unfortunate. I guess the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think it's unfortunate. Something that I continue to see in the politics is that if you have anything to do with banking, you are viewed as part of the problem. And the end result is that the most qualified people cannot serve in the position now. Right. And I am concerned that eventually what this ends up being is the Federal Reserve ends up being run by a bunch of ideologues that don't have a clue about the system that they're supposed to be managing. That's what scares me. And I know that would make a lot of people say like, oh, well, you're part of the establishment, but that's just what I see happening. And I see a lot of people online, they don't really understand what's going on. Oh man, I'm feeling the FOMO hard right now, man. I did not like the way that it was coming out. I was reading, you know, it was a management. I think that I was following the way that I typically read the tape and everything, but it just, in that instance, it ended up being the wrong decision, right? And that happens a lot on when I catch good ones. So I could have gotten a lot more from it. I guess it's $15, but man. So I guess it was 20 was where I got out at. 15 was where I was kind of like, okay, let's mess around with this. It came back through so hard. I'm a little. Wow. The problem that I get in a situation like this is that I want to just go, okay, short 3.403. And I have a lot of things telling me that that's not necessarily a good idea. I mean, it may just be a trend day and I look back at even 403 and go like, wow, that would have been a good trade too. Right? But before I had a lot to play with and I was like, oh, I don't want to give up, you know, $10. I've already made 20. I should have played it though. Like it was the situation. I knew that the volume was coming through. I'm still seeing the volume coming through. Should have held it. And then at this point, then I wouldn't have to worry about the risk of that. I could just say, okay, we'll just keep it. And then, you know, because eventually the way that these ones play out is that they will get to a spot and they go off. And so then you can be like, okay, well, it hasn't moved in an hour. I guess I'll leave. Right. Dude, that, by the way, that move afterwards, geez, the way that this played out is really kind of funny. Because like I had the trade, you guys all argued with me, it came down, and I had to puke, and then I got back in, and then it went 40,000 contracts. 40,000 contracts long, and you're still seeing big volume, right? Or there's icebergs on both sides here at 21, 22. I guess the other thing is I would have to be ending in 30 minutes. See that? Okay. So let's just pretend like I still had a position on, okay? 2 ticks down. Big icebergs both sides at the top. Maybe a little bit of a profile building here at 20. Maybe some concern that it could fall back to 17. So I wouldn't necessarily be taking it off at the moment, but I would probably be looking at it and being like, okay, maybe I need to get in. That's why I'm like, you know, hitting into it at the lows doesn't really make sense. You think what? Well, yes. I think that we are at the end of the second leg. Yeah. That's where this thing right here does not. I don't think I've seen it play out this way before, where it come back that hard and then whoosh. But there was real fight in there, so you know. So this is one of those things where I don't really know. Maybe if I had been on a desk, I would have some experience about a situation like this where something happened. Like if you have a short position on and it's going against you, you don't like it. Do you fight it? Do you come in and start putting some big offers on and start adding to your position a little bit and everything to try and scare the buyers away? Right? Because it kind of felt to me like what happened was there was the big battle and the sellers pushed down really hard and pushed it outside of that range. And then once they pushed it outside of that range, it was like they disappeared. It was like, okay, we did our thing, and we saved it. And it was like they had used all of their ammunition or something. And so then when the next leg of the meta order came in, they just got creamed. And like I said, 40,000 contracts net. So that washed out. At least like the positions from the day could be washed out. How's their camera doing here? I'm looking at it. I'm wondering if I have it perfectly straight. It looks like it's a little crooked. Looks a little crooked to me. I think with this comes back to this problem that I've had that like sometimes when I get a really big winner, I find them very difficult to hold on to. And to some extent, I think that's like we get those moves, you get like these increases in volatility, and so the pullbacks can be really extreme. And that's kind of hard for me. But I also think that it's kind of like when you catch the winner, it helps my concentration. I get more focused, and then that makes it easier for me to scare myself out of a trade. Because this is still going. This is saying that I left almost 20, if not more, bucks on the table. And it was more because I had that other contract that I took off after the news and it was still going well. I should have added it back on, maybe. And then I really could have ridden this, and then I would be up like 60 or 70. Depends on what your desk's objective is. Yeah. Well, so what I'm kind of getting at is like, let's say that I was a hedge fund and that I was making a speculative trade and I was short, and my objective was to short the market in a way that causes other people to want to sell and push up, push the market down, right? It seems to me like that situation that we saw there, if that's what I was doing, to like add to the position and sell against such a strong flow, would be like a really dangerous, risky trade, not worth taking. Like I'm still having a hard time understanding the battle. Because to me, when I see the battle, it's kind of like, okay, let them do their thing, right? Why fight them? Right? This is why it's probably why it's rare to see two big orders clash like that. Because if you're executing a large meta order and you realize that somebody else is executing a large meta order the other way, why not let them push it down? Wait for the liquidity to rebalance and then take your order from there. You get a better price, right? You push back against it when you're trying to do the risky trade where you're trying to take advantage of all of that to try and push the market more your direction, presumably in an effort to mess with other people. You don't think most think that far ahead? Well, it was certainly questionable. I mean, look, we were all arguing about it before this really pushed through, right? So, I mean, there's definitely disagreement in the market, but in retrospect, it was really foolish to try and fight that, right? For anybody that, for if a large trader did fight it, it was foolish for them to do so. I'm wondering if it's going to keep going till 3.4 and maybe that's where it balances out. Because I am seeing like some signs that it should be. Well, actually, no. So the thing that I'm seeing is like a lot of volume traded up in here, but I'm not seeing the latent liquidity disappear thing, right? The book is still fairly strong. So maybe the square root lie is coming into effect here, but I'm not getting really clear signs of it. There's another further little tick. Maybe it's just had a lot of cash paper. Well, if it was all hedged, I guess. I would need to be able to see the flows elsewhere to see that they actually were hedging it, right? Wow, 4,000 sold into 22.5 and it absorbed. That's... I take that one. Big old lot kind of showed up there for a second at 23. And now it's at 25. Okay. That was a stop run right there, right? 46 hit into 23.5 almost immediately. I'm still like reflecting on what I've done today, and I really feel like I let my emotions get the best of me. I really feel like that the play in that situation should have been to just try and let that ride, and if it came back, then it came back. Because imagine if on that little pullback that kind of scared me out that I had added. I also think one of the issues that y'all get is like, okay, so it's really good that I've been mostly hands off, hardly taken any trades for like 2 weeks or whatever, understanding the market and that it wasn't a good opportunity, and being able to come in today and knowing that there was an opportunity. So that means that I am reading the flows correctly, right? That's really good. But then the problem is that you got like you're not having the experience of being in positions and experiencing that stress during that whole time. So then when it comes time, you know, when go time comes, I was not my best, you know. It's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of things to be proud of about that trade, but I should have gotten so much more than I did. That should have been a breakout trade. I really could have, you know. I'm also kind of wondering, like, okay, so I was willing to take 2 contracts at one point. Why was I not, when I had reduced it down to 1, why was I not willing to take on more risk with that other 1 contract? Seems like I was way too shy with it. Do you think that at 4% in the 2s we'll get a pullback? I already have us at 3.96. So I'm not quite sure I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, we do have a 2-year note auction, that's true. Maybe you're talking about the main 2-year, like the implied rate on the 2-year future, and not the micro. That's not too bad, the way that one played out. This is looking like a trend day, man. Yeah, okay, not the micro. This is looking like a trend. It's behaving like a trend day. And it broke out of this high from before the 14th. Think that they're on their way to 116 eventually this week. Finally. It was a fun trade to watch. I feel like here's the thing. I'm really getting hard on myself because I could have gotten so much more out of that. But it was a difficult trade. Sometimes you'll get a trend that is just really easy. It's like you can see it happening, you can get in, you hold it all the way, it hardly ever pulls back against you. You know exactly what's going on, etc. This one was hard. I had an inkling of what was going on. I was able to get in early, but it came back on me really hard multiple times. There was like a real fight against it. It was kind of hard to sort out what was going on. It was a difficult trade. Sometimes it being a difficult trade can maybe be part of the reason why it's going up so strongly. Because that means that, you know, not everybody saw it the same way, right? I don't know. It's interesting. It does look like that is fading there a little bit. Like they got to the 3.4, went a little bit past it. They're fading back to it. They may be balancing out a little bit here. The meta order may be finished. At least that leg. I'm a little bit, I guess what I'm saying is I'm a little bit skeptical of this flow really continuing. Unless it's like it's a real true honest goodness trend day, you know, one of them's. Which I can't remember the last time I saw one like that. You know what I'm talking about? Like those days where you could just scalp it all day. I actually traded the 10-year yield. Yeah. It in the 10-year yield. I'm so mad. I could have made or was it 425? Could have made 50 bucks on it, and I only made 15 in the end. And then I did take a sim trade on here on this break. Like, that's the thing. So, like, I think about, like, okay, if I was only doing it in the 10 years on a sim account and it came back like that, I would have been like, oh, yeah, I can add more contracts here. I really believe in this. I'd add, and it would have been amazing, right? But over here, it's like, is it worth the risk? Yeah, I'm on 2 contracts. That's kind of makes me nervous. Like, you know, it's all those things. It was a good trend, but it was hard to hold. It's a good trend, but it was hard to hold. So I'm just mad because I know that I can do that, right? I know that I can do that. That would have been a spectacular trade. So you can't expect to catch that every time, but I feel like I could have done it. I feel like I have the skill to do that, and that I knew enough about what was going on to possibly have played that, right? So I'm I'm always frustrated when it's like I see the opportunity and I don't take it. Is FRC getting hammered? They were getting hammered yesterday, right? They were like up 10% and then they got smacked. I'm not quite sure what to make of that one. I've seen a lot of people put a ton of money into that and I'm like, what are you guys doing? This is just like with Bed Bath and Beyond. I'm so stunned at the number of people that stuck in with that Bed Bath and Beyond thing until the very end. Because like when it was like post GameStop, that was a great play, totally made sense. But like since then, and like especially here in 2023, I think the people that were trying to go long Bed Bath and Beyond are just smoking it, man. Because it was obvious long since then that Bed Bath and Beyond really was going under. Okay, let's come and read a little bit more about this data that we had. 5 theories that are swirling about on the internet about why Fox News fired. It's funny because there was a story, basically, as far as I could tell, was sourced from like the Murdochs and other people about why he got fired. And my reading of that news story is that Fox News is finished. I really believe that you could see Fox News disappear. Well, they'll probably still be around, but like nobody's gonna watch them anymore. I think Hannity might stay on there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see other defections and stuff, right? And if Tucker makes the right moves after this, it's gonna be like a martyr. He will be a martyr, and you will have just created the strongest far right news personality you could ever possibly imagine. Like. They're creating a monster. is what's going on. It's yeah. Are they gonna do the the level break setup again here. I mean, there's the volatility is kind of all lined up for 24. Reading these stories on Zero Hedge. Yeah. Okay. So this video of Tucker Carlson was it him speaking on his Episcopal faith? I don't know exactly what the context of the comment was, but the comments that he had, it was a very impactful presentation, and he was making a how do I put this, man? It was a different approach to politics that I think is going to become very key moving forward, which is that Republicans no longer feel that the Democrats are participating in good faith with them. That what the Democrats want is completely different, and from what the Republicans believe, frankly, evil. They think that the Democrats want to castrate your children and sacrifice all of your unborn babies to the devil. And it's kind of reached a point where it's like the Republicans are having a hard time trying to say, well, the Democrats, they think this and they think this, and so in that world it makes sense for them to do this thing or the other thing. And it's not that they're bad people, they're just maybe a little misguided. It's like it no longer feels like that to Republicans, right? To Republicans, it feels like that people are just doing evil things for evil's sake. So the way that I think that it will end up getting portrayed would be like a resurgence in evangelical Christian participation in politics, because they were not as big of a participant in the Trump years, and they haven't been as a strong part of they haven't been as much a part of the Republican coalition since the Bush years, because that's what really put Bush over the top, right? Yeah, well, the Episcopal, so he jokes about it a bunch in that video, but the Episcopal Church is basically like almost relativist. Like, they're the least Christian of those churches. The Episcopalian was like the most liberal of the Christian churches, let's put it that way. Right. They were the first ones to have, like gay pastors, for instance, and things like that. That's why he's saying that. That's what that's all about. But no, I think that Tucker Carlson is going to go switch to a different network. Maybe the Daily Wire. I think the Daily Wire is where you get the most bang for his buck. And it will be a big deal. It's going to be a huge change in news in this country. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least bit to see a bunch of other people from Fox leave and follow him. And in particular, Marissa Bartiromo, who used to be on CNBC and is on Fox Business and on Fox in general, right? She might leave too, right? So we may also see the rise of like a conservative leaning financial news channel too through the Daily Wire. Like that's all a possibility here now, right? You see where I'm saying that this is like maybe one of the most important stories of the next decade. Is that because what happens here is either Tucker Carlson fades into obscurity or he becomes the central part of the next wave of Republican bot, right? And the way that this went down, they are making him a martyr, and he's absolutely the kind of person that will capitalize on that. You know, like what's his bucket? Mr. Fair and Balanced. When he got let go from Fox, you know, he kind of disappeared. Yeah, The Wire is Ben Shapiro's channel. Yeah, that's correct. So there was this whole thing. You remember, man, I'm you know what? I've hit myself so hard that now I'm like, my brain's not functioning correctly and I can't remember people's names and stuff like that. The guy that used to, Crowder. Okay, Crowder got banned from YouTube. I think that he did break their rules, and I frankly think that Crowder is too impulsive. He had some good content, but he also did some impulsive things, and he gave YouTube every reason to get rid of him. Okay, so then he had the opportunity. He went off on his own, and he kind of had this opportunity to like go and sign with somebody. And the Daily Wire offered him a ton of money, and he was like scoffed at it. And there was kind of like a falling out between them and everything else like that. And he didn't go with the Daily Wire. And there was this big debate whether he should have done it or should not have, right? If Tucker Carlson goes with the Daily Wire, it would be like a, oh my gosh. Hold on. She's just asking me a quick question. Who commented on the Republican Party as meh? Are you talking about Tucker? Well, so the issue is that this insurgent part of the Republican Party, if you want to call it, or the media refers to it as the far right or the populist wing of the Republican Party, feels that the Republican Party is a capture device of sorts. So it's like Zion in the Matrix, right? You create this place where you can be the opposition to let the steam off, but it's controlled and they can never actually change anything or have any real impact on anything. That's what they believe the Republican Party is, right? I don't think it's like that. I think that there's just there's too many old people is what I think it comes down to. But they don't like the Republican Party. They think that the Republican Party is actually like suppressing the truth. That the Republican Party didn't stand up enough against what they viewed as the lies told about January 6th, for instance, or about possible election interference, like or fraud, things like that. They feel that the Republican Party didn't fight hard enough on those things. That if the Republican Party had put up a stronger, so for instance, talking about election fraud, there was that whole thing with was it Sydney or whatever. They did that lawsuit, and then eventually it got dismissed and everything. And the whole thing should be like, why wasn't the Republican Party doing that, for instance, right? So that's where his comment comes from, is that he thinks that the Republican Party isn't far right enough, and that is too much a pawn of the establishment, right? So this is important to note, because basically what I see happening is conservative. Let's not say the Republican Party. I mean, I think eventually they take over the Republican Party, but the conservatives in the United States are probably going to continue to go even further down this populist strain. I think this is what I see happening. So in terms of like understanding politics and understanding news, this is a really big deal. And you're going to look back on it in 10 years and think about how massive of an event it was. Assuming, again, Tucker gets the most out of it, that he goes to somewhere like the Daily Wire and has success with it, because there's been some other conservatives that weren't very effective when they went off on their own. The House leader is a promising leader for leaning more right. Big influence. He has been doing pretty good with the whole debt ceiling thing, hasn't he? Right. So looking at the issues going forward here for the election, it gets kind of interesting, because the debt ceiling is definitely going to be a factor. The economy is definitely going to be a factor. And I think the Democrat Party runs a very serious risk of screwing that up royally, because if the House Republicans pass their bill and then Joe Biden continues to refuse to deal with them at all or whatever, I don't think it's going to look very good for him. And then on top of that, the economy has just been bad under his watch anyways. I think I see a lot of things that suggest that we're going to be in a recession in the second half of this year. So I don't think that's going to help him in 2024, right? And then he's basing on the social issues. He's decided he's going to die on the hill of should your kids receive transgender surgery. Most Americans don't agree with him on that either, right? I see a lot of I don't think Obama would be doing what Biden is doing, right? I think that Biden's making big tactical blunders. The only thing that could possibly save him is Donald Trump being elected the nominee again. Arugo, what's up? Hey, welcome to the stream. It's time for me to get going here, man. Well, what do I think of O'Keefe? Oh my gosh, that was so dirty. Oh, I don't know if I have time to go into all of this. I'm going to try and be really quick. So O'Keefe, he started this thing called Project Veritas, and they made it into like a foundation. And then some people on the foundation found some sort of stupid reason to get rid of him, like the founder of the company, which is just like absolutely insane, because how can you be on that board and not know that like O'Keefe goes, like that's the end of your organization? So people hypothesize that they were like paid off or something like that. And now he's going on his own, and I'm sure that he'll continue to find exposés. That was dirty, right? I mean that just plays into this whole other thing that we're seeing, like the way that Tucker Carlson was taken out. It really is like the deep state doesn't like that they're being exposed, and now the journalists that are exposing them, they're trying to get rid of them. That's what it looks like. Okay, that's what it looks like, and it's going to play a major factor behind politics in the next cycle. Okay, so I should get going. I made what, $16? Isn't bad. I wish I had done better, but it's a good trade, and nonetheless, I was on top of something. And you know what? Neener. Because I think a couple of you guys were trying to argue for a short here, right? Well, maybe it didn't go up because of the reasons that I thought, but either way, a strong flow came through, didn't it? I thought a strong flow was going to come in, and whether it was for the reason I thought or not, strong flow did come. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay excellent, team.